at this moment, it's like I have nothing. But in that moment when you have nothing, that's when you really have to realize that you have everything at that moment. You know what I mean? That's when you realize you have everything inside of you, because you have nothing. No one's there. No, you just the only person that was there for me was myself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gomes Crypto Show. I just messed up the name of my episode. Oh, well, we'll keep going. My name is Gomes, your host. Thank you for showing up here again. I have an amazing guest today that I'm excited to share with you. He's actually somebody that I didn't know was connected to my previous life. And then when I started talking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, we come from the same backgrounds. His name is Nathan L, aka Capn Crypto, and I have a cool little video here I want to show you guys.
Told that everyone in crypto loves interns. Lucky me, I've been offered a prestigious intern position at one of my favorite companies.
All right, CoinGecko, intern day one. Hi everyone, I'm a gecko. What you doing? You're reading some code. Do you need help? I'm a gecko. I can't read.
Just
No, they actually tell for real.
What's for lunch? What do geckos eat?
I think they eat bugs.
Might get locked out. Man, geckos only have 4 fingers? Hey, what you doing?
oh no, you started playing with the tail.
Yeah, man.
What are you doing at this
Oh
point?
my god, it's so hot in here. There's a fan in here?
There's a fan. The fan was off.
Hey, there's a fan in there. Yeah, there's a fan in the suit. I was just
I've been told that everyone in crypto.
Oh, that's amazing. That is Nathan L, aka Capn Crypto. Created in 2017, CryptoNauts exists to provide quick and easily digestible crypto information. Think of Nathan and them as the magic school bus or Sesame Street for the blockchain industry. Their aim is to educate the world about the developments of Bitcoin, Ethereum, DeFi, and all things cryptocurrency. Today, Nathan and his team of CryptoNauts not only share well-researched and digested content on specific projects in the space, but are also willing to investigate the companies we all enjoy using in the crypto space. Ladies and gentlemen, Nathan L, aka Capn Crypto.
hey
Oh,
man, yeah.
hello.
Thanks for the nice intro.
Yes, I love doing these intros. People love them. Well, how are you? How are you, Nathan?
I'm good, man. I'm in Asia right now, so it's like 10 p.m., but I know it's like 7 a.m. for you, so it's like we finally got some time, you know? Life is good, man. It's good. Can't complain. How's everything on your end?
Good. Yeah, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, in the middle of the desert. I used to live in Santa Monica, and then 2020 hit, and we're gonna talk about that and like what your perspective is on everything.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to mention before we even begin is that Nathan here went to the same acting school that I went to in Santa Monica with the Baron Brown Acting School. And you said you went 2015, 2016, something like that?
Yeah, I went the year that Halle Berry spoke, so that was like I was like flabbergasted, you know? And I felt like that was a very interesting part of my life. I think that was a very tough time, but I think I feel like you got to go through it. I feel like everyone needs to go through some sort of trials and tribulations. You know what I mean? It's a struggle.
Oh, we're going to talk about that right now. So one of the first questions I love to ask is, tell me about your journey to this point and what was your specific red pill moment that kind of shook you out of this matrix and kind of like, oh, crypto. Oh, I got to look at all this other stuff than what is normal in my life.
Um, Yeah, so in 2014, I moved out to LA to do. I wanted to do the film industry. I didn't really care whether it was like whether it was behind the camera or in front of the camera. So I just kind of tried to do everything. So I went out there, packed everything I had put it in a car, and I drove out to Los Angeles. I went to Santa Monica. They told me to go to Santa Monica. I didn't know anyone there. So I get to Santa Monica, and then it's like, okay, now what do I do? I go to the beach. It's very nice. So I just went out to the beach and like just kind of slept in my car, kind of like didn't really know what to do with my life, but I felt very free. I think that was probably the freest I ever felt in my life because I didn't know anyone. I didn't have to listen to anyone. I was just like staring at the waves, and I was like, all right, well, yeah, I don't, at this moment, it's like I have nothing. But in that moment when you have nothing, that's when you really have to realize that you have everything at that moment. You know what I mean? That's when you realize you have everything inside of you, because you have nothing. No one's there. No, you just the only person that was there for me was myself. And my whatever voices I was hearing because we're crazy, right? I was joking. Anyways, so that moment was very different for me because like I didn't have any money, I didn't know what I was doing, and then I we went to the same acting class, right? I told them I was washing dishes and then I was cleaning the classroom for free class because I couldn't pay for class.
Mm. Yeah.
But I graduated, I finished, and then I started working in the industry behind the camera. So I was doing casting for a casting director, and we ended up doing pretty good, like different commercials. We got some Super Bowl spots. I was doing a lot of like a little bit of direct, like assistant directing, following the mentors and stuff like that. Just learning as much as possible. And then I ended up working in casting, so just like running the tapes for the auditions, just like understanding the commercial world and how that worked. And then somewhere along the line, I think 2016, this is the moment that you were referring to, was I was just tired of fighting amongst the same people for the same jobs. I felt
Mm.
like it was a very predatory model. Hollywood was just like it's the same, 200,000 people fighting for the same number of films that get funded every year or whatever, and it's just like
Mhm.
it's not very productive. It's
Yeah.
not very efficient, and it's kind of like everyone's just like kind of fighting each other. So I was like, all right, there's got to be something different, right? And so then at the time, my neighbor, he was a producer for Disney, and his best friend is actually the director of CryptoNauts. He came up with the idea.
Oh,
And he was
okay.
a director. He had two movies on Netflix and Amazon under his belt, and he was like, "Yo, let's just try a YouTube thing." And so he wrote the script, and we shot it. He edited it, and then it did really well. The first video did really well.
Hmm.
It was like 2016, 2017, so there was like nobody really doing the videos yet, the style that we're doing. And then the second one came through, and it did really well. It did even better, and we're like, "Oh, great." And the third one didn't do very good at all. It did horribly. So but you live, you learn.
That's
So we
when
had
you gotta
to,
push to the failure and go like, all right, let's keep going.
yeah. Well, we decided to do something different. We booked out a studio. We like hired a model, and then we just had to do some news, and then we just like trying to do the other direction, and the audience like they weren't too happy about that because we changed the format, and then they kind of roasted us. They kind of like just gave us like these horrible comments. So we hit the video, and then we had to go back, and it was like kind of like our comeback video, right? So we had to talk to IOTA, talk to the developers, and that took 3 months. And then when we dropped that one, that was when the fourth video was when we broke 100K views on
Mm.
on one video. No subscribers at the time.
Wow.
And then yeah, the rest is history. We just kind of slowly jumped from channel to channel, went back to the film industry, and now I'm here. So
So
yeah,
so
kind of a long
tell me. No, I love that. Love that. So tell me. I don't know if you went into it even a little bit here, but what was the moment that you heard about crypto and that was like, bing! Oh my gosh, that kind of moment, you know?
I think it was like 2017 when I read the white paper of Bitcoin. I realized the power of decentralized currency, of programmable money, of like immutable ledgers, and how it gets harder and harder to mine. Just like supply and demand, and also like how the Federal Reserve and like all the inflation stuff, like all that is just like it was a very like, it was like 3 a.m. I think.
Did you find it yourself, or
2017.
did somebody did somebody mention it to you?
So my cousin told me about Bitcoin, but I didn't read into it because I just thought it was a scam, right? Like usually you're just kind of like, what is it, right? You're just like not willing to listen. But then I think I did some research right after that. And when he told me, because he heard about it when Bitcoin was like under $700,
Uh,
so he's known about it for a really long
back
time. And
back in the
then
day.
yeah. So then I looked into it and I was like, wow, like this is very interesting. There's something here. You know what I mean? There's like something that's like backed by math and numbers, not just government and guns, you know? So I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so that sounds very similar to me. I was sitting in my accounting office. I was an accountant back in the day,
Oh,
and
dang.
yeah, this was like 2013. And my IT guy is the one that showed it to me, and I had the same. I read it, and I'm like, whatever. And then I kept thinking about it and kept thinking about it and going like, wait, so there's no central, I was trying to
Yeah.
like process it. And yeah, I think like with like the way you were explaining it, we just connected dots and it just made sense, right? It just felt right to do it.
Did you ever think about like, oh, what if the internet went down, or what if like this happens? Just like like finding like counter arguments against it as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
I
were you
can
just
I can I've done the research and all of that, all the counter arguments. I mean, if you want to even ask me, I can air it out for you, but um yeah, man, we have the
yeah.
capacity. I would even say this, that like what's happening right now, projects that are launching at global and public levels, those, if anything, those are unconscious scams. It's people that have not done the work on first looking at their own relationship to money. Because if you look at the structures, the concepts, they're still traditional. They're still from the traditional banking system. And then on the other
Mhm.
side, it's like, yeah, if you're going at the public level, at global level, that's like the whole reason for this to exist is to go against the globalists, to go against the banking cartel. So if you're trying to launch at that level, they're gonna come at you with everything they got. And so you're inviting
Yeah.
in the scrutiny, the infiltration, the mindset. So yeah, I have answers.
Nice, man. Yeah, it seems like you're pretty deep in.
Yeah, I've been in long enough, and then doing my own journey, like my own healing journey. I started really peeling back layers, and the biggest layer that I peeled back for myself was my own relationship to money, and then looking at
Ooh,
everybody else and going, "Oh, now I see myself in these other people, in the crypto space, really, and how
yeah.
they're reacting to that energy, to blockchain." And it's like, oh, they're putting all this dependency on it. They're putting all their worth on it, all their value on it, and essentially being manipulated, emotionally
That's
dragged around.
that's so crazy because we were just talking like I was just talking about that like maybe 8 days ago with one of my family members. He was also like because he's in crypto and he's like, yo, this is like when you hear someone talk about money, that is their relationship to money. And I was like, dang. And then it's like in
Whether
here,
whether you're positive about it, negative about it, it's the relationship. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, that's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep going here. And if you guys are listening, we decided we're going to do sort of like a back and forth conversation. So this is a little different setup, but I feel like it's going to be nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, more like a camp,
so
like a fire camp or something. Campfire.
yeah,
Fireside.
yeah.
That's what
Fireside chat with
Where's it?
Nathan and Otto. You can let your acting out too, by the way. I always do that. I let things flow.
Yeah. Nice. Doing the independent activity.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a question. So
Okay.
why do we need decentralization? Essentially, what is your elevator pitch for someone hearing about crypto for the first time?
Good question, man. Dang.
That's a hard one. Einstein says
Yeah.
if you can't simply explain it, you don't know it well enough. So no pressure.
Yeah. There needs to be more than one single point of failure for our entire system. Whether it's not just money, right? It's everything we do. If it's all centralized to the top, right? The best is like the banking system, obviously, like because the banking system it holds all of your records, it knows who you are, and there's a gate there, and the banks, the people that work at the banks are the gatekeepers. there's a lot of people in the world who don't have access to banks. We're lucky that we're from America because it's like pretty first world, but like you go out to like any other third world country, most people don't have banks. They don't even have access. I think it's like closer to 2 billion. I don't know the exact number. I gotta go back and do some research, but it's a big number of people who have no access to the banking system, which means that they have no access to money or fiat or to pay their family. They're a cash society, and that's cool and all, but it's like everyone should be able to use a bank. It doesn't matter what color you are, who you are, what your background, where you're from. Like you should be able to access, a bank if you wanted to. But the problem is like the infrastructure is not there. And so because of this gatekeeping, there's so many people that don't have access. And so now with decentralization and Bitcoin, you pretty much have a, a bank on the internet on your phone everywhere you go, and anyone can use it if you want to. So it's not for the banks, it's for the people, which is something that we've never seen before. And whoever created Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, right? He was able to kind of like sacrifice his creation, her creation, whoever created it left the entire project. It's just the core developers. So this thing's just running on its own. And if you have a node, then you can contribute to it. You can validate the blocks. You can do all this stuff, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it because there's no central person. There's no one to blame. There's no one to go after. It's completely, as you said, decentralized, and that's why I think it's important.
So were you in the elevator for the largest building in the world? I'm just kidding.
Yes. We just went up 145
110.
stories. Everyone's gone already. I'm just talking to myself at this point. They're like, dude, you're still here? You wrote it up and all the way down? Oh, crap.
You finish and there's nobody left. You're like, oh, I guess I was just talking to myself. No, that was really good. That was good. Have you heard about this in Africa? I forgot which country it is there. It's one of the third world countries, style African countries, that they're transacting using, because there's no internet, there's no electricity. They're transacting with each other using Bitcoin and Bluetooth to create a Bluetooth mesh network to transact with each other. So they're using not internet, not Wi-Fi, but Bluetooth with each other. That's amazing.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, mesh networks is something that's very interesting that actually people don't talk about, because the thing about it is like when I first heard about it, it's because everyone's phone is like pretty powerful, but like if you put millions of phones together, it's even more powerful than a centralized computer. So it's actually the strongest network out there if you are working together, right?
You ever watch that show Silicon Valley?
No. It's pretty good.
Yeah, so it's like Silicon Valley. It's about a company, a startup in Silicon Valley, and they're trying to create this new technology. And you know what it is? And this show was in 2015, I think 2015, 2016, and they were trying to create a decentralized video processing, so that you would use individual phones to shard. You'd shard the information to everybody's phone, and then when you want to stream it, it would bring it all back together. I mean, blockchain essentially, right? Blockchain, and this was in this show in 2015. And I just thought it was interesting when you said phone. I was like, yeah, this is what we can do.
Dang. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, but that's very interesting that they talk about that, because essentially they're kind of referring to the decentralization of I don't know if you could do that with blockchain technology, but you could probably do something close to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's talk about this last year, and these last couple of years, I guess. We can talk about the last couple of years and then go into last year. So when did 2020 and COVID and pandemic and all that stuff, when did it become very personal to you? Because there's like looking at mainstream media and everything that happens there and what they're talking about, and then there's like, oh crap, here, this is now in my face. Here it is. So how has that journey been for you?
It's been okay. Actually, I wouldn't be doing the channel if the pandemic didn't hit, because I was still working. I went back to yeah. So we were doing an Apple commercial, and we were casting for like one of the the new like mini iPads, and then the pandemic hit, and then all of the agency producers flew back to New York. They're like, "We're out." We're like, "What do you mean you're out? Is you mean we're not gonna finish the commercial, or like we're still casting for it?" And then they dipped. They all went back to New York. Everything shut down. And then I was like, "Okay, well, what am I gonna do? Just sit at home, go to the beach. Can't even really close the beaches, right?" And then I was still in
Yeah.
LA, and then like what play video games, online just all day, and like no work, and then we thought that it would get better. We thought that like within sure they'll just open it up in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and then we ended up locking down for a long time, man. So then I was just like, all right, well, I gotta do something. So then I just went back to the channel, and then that's when we started producing content again.
Mhm.
And then this time I just, wrote all the scripts myself, and then did it with, my fam, and then we shot it like in the house because we were locked down, and then we did all the editing ourselves as well. We just did everything. And then it just kind of picked up after mid 2020, 2021. So
I thought that was interesting how like yeah you when everything happened it either drove people deeper into this like dependency almost because it's like, oh, if I can't work, I got somebody's got to help me, and so it was like, please help me, government, please help me, or it's what you did, like, well, I gotta do something. I gotta actually create something here. I can't be dependent on these other people anymore. I gotta do it myself. And I actually heard this from DW Brown. He said, man, if you really want to be successful and really make your way and even make money in it, you have to do it yourself.
right. And if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself, or
You
you
got
got to at least experience it yourself so that you can teach others, right? So
yes, embody it,
yeah, yeah.
because
What did
then
you
we're just
do?
talking about. Oh,
You also started the
yeah.
the
So
podcast?
so before 2020, I have a production company. I started a production company right after I graduated called Decentralized Films.
Ooh, let's go.
And
Nice.
it's trademarked, by the way. Which, by the way, I don't know if you
Oh,
heard. There's Decentralized Pictures. So Decentralized Pictures, I own the trademark for Decentralized Pictures as well. It is Frank Coppola. So Frank Coppola created Decentralized Pictures, which is a
wait,
nonprofit blockchain based. Yeah, have you
the
heard
dude
about
that
it?
created the wine, did he direct like The Godfather?
Yeah, The Godfather. Yeah, Frank Coppola. Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome. Oh, so he knew.
yeah.
He knew.
Well, so they reached out to me back when I trademarked Decentralized Films because when I was with my attorney, I was like, oh, Decentralized Films, and I was like thinking of all the names, and I was like Decentralized Films, Decentralized Pictures, Decentralized Studio. I put all of them,
Oh, dang,
and
nice.
and so I own the trademarks for all of these, and so and it was right. I remember I looked up the registration for the company of it in the state, and it was like a month after the registrations when I did the trademark. And then like a month after that, when they saw that the application was in, they called me up. And they're like, "Hey, so," and we started the conversation, but then 2020 hit. The COVID hit, pandemic, and then like I haven't heard from them since. But I was producing my own stuff. I produced a short. There's a 25-minute short that I made. Cost me like 60 grand. It's called
That's a long
Patch.
short. That's a really long
Yeah,
short.
it was
Yeah.
it was like a short movie. It was a short movie basically. I mean,
Yeah.
we went all out with it. And I had a bunch of projects that I was working on. I mean, I can off air here. I'll show you my. I have a business deck that goes through like
Nice.
all the stuff that I did. But same man, I had to stop because everything shut down.
Yeah.
Even and then crypto dropped. I had a hefty bag back then, and I was using that to fund my stuff. So
Uh,
when everything dropped, I was like, well, I gotta
Ooh.
stop doing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of
yeah.
kind of held it for a second, and then it just week after week after week, it just never rematerialized. So eventually, I was like, well, I guess I got to do something, and I saw, for me, I had already been like halfway, in this last 6 years, halfway through my healing journey, and I was really aware of health and the
Mm.
differences between germ theory to terrain theory, and I was really against everything. And so I was really spoken. I spoke out a lot about the pressures and things that were happening and the indoctrination and being growing up watching movies and seeing subliminal messaging and like how everything you watch on TV is strategic. Like being an actor and knowing that production side, it's like, oh, nothing's by accident.
Yeah, everything is
Nothing is by accident. Everything is
reality
very
TV. It's
specific.
not reality TV. It's not reality.
No. I mean, even watch this. I'm about to blow your mind. You know, the NFL is considered entertainment business, which means legally they can lie to you, which means legally that the outcomes can be manipulated legally. It's not a sport. What? Yeah, NFL is not a sport. It's not considered a sport. It's an entertainment business.
It's entertainment because you can bet on it. It's like sports betting. That's why I thought it was entertainment. I didn't know.
No. Yeah, well, I mean, you can bet on anything. Betting sites, they don't care. You can bet on anything. But manipulation on TV, you know, you have to be careful. It has to be considered entertainment, or like you know, like SNL, which is like a you know, mocking or making fun of. But yeah, if it's considered entertainment, you can't. So NFL anyway. So growing up around that and being with that, I'm like, nah, man, this stuff is I can see through this BS. And so then I started talking about it, started interviewing other people that were talking about it. And then my Instagram account blew up. Things started blowing up because people wanted to hear that. They wanted to hear something different than what they were seeing on mainstream.
I bet you got a lot of like, I guess, controversy because, I mean, I was like originally before I moved to LA, I was like was from Texas, right? So Texas, there's like a few things, right? It's God, whiskey, guns, football. Like, how dare you? I'm just saying, like it would rub a lot of people the wrong way to talk about the NFL. You know what I mean? Because like that's like almost like religious in Texas. So it's very a
whole other layer there of indoctrination. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I bet you probably got a ton of like.
Oh yeah, no, it's 100%. I mean, I had to, you know, if anything, I got to a point where I was like, oh, if I'm not getting like if I'm not getting the kickback, if I'm not getting that, then I'm not doing it right. That means I'm just falling in line with mainstream narrative. That's what I noticed. And then you know what happened? I lost a lot of followers. But I gained even more. Literally, I probably lost like, you know, 10% or 15%, but I literally quadrupled my following out because of it. Because I was willing to speak, you know, and just say what I believe. It wasn't like, is this right or wrong? I don't know. I don't agree with this shit, you know, literally just being willing to say something about it.
Right. Just able to express yourself and tell your truth, I think is very important. I feel like that is not, it just doesn't happen much anymore. You know, it's
I had to deal with a censorship too. I got my account taken down in YouTube, my account taken down on Instagram. I had to rebuild it.
Really? Why?
Oh, yeah, man.
Like what? Like it's like because of one thing, or because you know YouTube, right? If you cuss in the first 15 minutes, you're demonetized now. So people are I just learned this today. Yeah, you can't say any bad words. You can't. You just have
crazy.
To follow them. Yeah, it's bad.
Even if you say it's not for kids.
Yeah.
Still take it down.
Yeah. It's just implemented, I think, yesterday. So you can't just.
Yeah, so it's AI, right? AI is like listening to everything you're saying now, and I was just questioning. I was just like, this doesn't feel right. Like and then I started researching, and then I started sharing my research. Very easy. Here's the research, and then I have maybe. I'm not even kidding you. You can look at my Instagram account. I had to take a lot of it down because I started to shift towards, you know, specifically talking about crypto. But it was like couple hundred videos that I edited, and they're all short content form, like between 90 seconds to 5 minutes. And I would layer it out, bro. I got to show you this stuff. I'd find the research, I'd document it, and then I'd dub, you know, I'd voice over it and put music, and it was all very, very nicely done. So it got circulated a lot back in the day, like 2020, 2021. Honestly, I still see stuff reshared with me that I created. I'm like, I remember that.
I made that.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And so, anyway, just a willingness, right? Just like stand up for something. Unless if you don't believe in something, you're believing in somebody else's something.
Right.
You know?
And so who is it that you and I understand. Yeah.
You know, stand for something, anything. I
Yeah.
don't care what you stand for.
Just
Yeah,
something,
like just
please.
something. Just don't fall in line, man. You're falling in line with mainstream narratives. It's like, oh, then you're just repeating. You're regurgitating. Great.
The echo chamber. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Groupthink. You know, there's a difference between groupthink. There's the people that come together and they don't stand for anything, so they go and they stand for each other's things, and they become groupthink. You know, because there's always
Like
one person that
like hive mind kind of thing.
yeah, and then there's a community, you know, which by the way, that's also like a buzzword now in the crypto space. I don't even like to use it anymore, but the concept of like individuals coming together that disagree and being okay with it. You know?
Yeah, and that's the way it should be, right? I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's that's kind of how you grow, you know? You know, if everyone's just like you, it's like you're not gonna make it very far, you know?
Nope. If you're the smartest person in the room, go to another room.
Yeah,
That's the
go to that
truth.
one, right? Go to that one.
So tell me, what was it for you this last year? We've had major events happen. Obviously, Luna event, you know, the UST collapse, FTX, you know, Alameda, 3AC. I mean, it's like a list of 10 different companies so far, I think, at least, that have gone through this contagion of everything that's happening with centralized exchanges and centralized solutions. So what is your take on all these things that happened this last year?
Well, actually, I've known the FTX guys for many years. Believe it
Really?
or not. Not Sam. I didn't know Sam. I know a lot of people that worked for him. They're on his Slack. Like they tell me like their experiences working with him and like what kind of person he is, right? I've known them for maybe like 5 years.
Mm.
Um, and actually they're not too far from here because FTX is from Hong Kong. And so it's actually like just like right down the street.
Oh, I
Their
don't know why.
office.
For some reason, I guess they do have offices there. I thought it was in the Bahamas, and that's what was happening. But that's just, I
They
guess.
moved to Bahamas like this year or last year? Last year. They moved last year. It was January. Yeah, so they just moved. But SBF was from MIT and he used to work just right down the street and then at this place called Pacific Place. I don't know if I should say it before people might just like run after it or something. But anyways, they're not there anymore. Um yeah, so I've known these guys for a long time. I know a lot of companies actually got bought out by FTX. So a lot of my friends um were actually supposedly like set up for life because they got bought out, right? By FTX. And
Interesting.
then I was very happy for them, actually. I felt like they were doing very well in life, right? Because to get acquired by such a big company,
Sure. Yeah, I can.
um, but then they didn't even know what's going on, right? And then some of the employees at FTX, like they were using it like a bank, and they were getting paid their salary in FTX.
Oh
So it's
no, that's I didn't
yeah,
know
dude.
that. They're getting
So
paid
it's
in FTX, like in the FTX token, the FTT
no,
token.
they're gonna pay USDC or USD or whatever, but it was like going into their FTX account, like because they were using it like their
Oh,
bank. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh,
So,
I see
but,
what you're
but
saying.
but when FTX collapsed, everything that you have on the exchange is gone, right? Like even the
Oh my
USD is
goodness.
gone. Everything is gone. $8 billion hole. How are you gonna plug it, right? And so, and those guys didn't even know, man. That's the bad thing. There's 600 people that got burnt. You know, they were just there. They were working hard. They all like it's good and bad. I feel like it was a very we're just talking about groupthink. Everybody worshipped Sam. They thought he was like
Mm,
the next Hong Kong's blah blah blah. He's the savior of crypto, and everybody literally banked on this guy. There's bank in his name. Everybody literally banked on this dude, and I think after everything, after I went back to see them like about like a week ago, it was not a very welcoming place, but I feel like everybody was back to who they were before they got extremely wealthy. So that's something about character, right? I feel like they were just like we were just old friends again. You know what I mean? We're just talking about things. Everybody's humble. Everybody's like it wasn't a extremely good place, but it wasn't a group think of how great Sam was anymore.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know,
It's like
it
people's
wasn't
eyes were
like
open a little bit.
yeah, it wasn't just like oh Sam this, Sam that. You go here, Sam this, Sam that. That was all I heard. It was like an echo of how great SBF was my whole time here, the entire up until the crash.
Mm.
So good and bad. I feel extremely horrible for all of my friends who got their entire life savings wiped out, because that's, very hard to start from zero. But at the same time, I think now everyone is kind of more into holding their own funds. They're more custodial. They're taking more responsibility for their own funds. So that's
That's what I was
kind of
going to
how
ask
I.
you. So, what's the silver lining here? Like, how do you see this being a positive spin or a positive take in the crypto space? Because everybody is like, I'll be honest, man. I teach crypto. I have a course, and it's been these last few months have been very difficult in signing up new students because of all the stuff that's been happening. You know, a lot of fear around it. But do you see things like being positive moving forward because of that?
I think it's great. I feel like everyone who's still here is going to be the pioneer. All of the fakes, all of the stuff, like all of the smoke and mirrors, all of this, like there's less scams, right? Because there's nothing to scam. Everyone's broke, right? Like it's great. I think now people can
That
really
was so funny.
focus,
There's nothing to scam. Everyone's broke. They're just like click
right?
on
Like
like no, there's no
Luna,
money there.
Epic.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's no money.
so
So it's great. It's because now because you said it's all about people's relationship to money, right? So
yeah.
if you don't really have a huge connection to it, then and you're still believing in the philosophy of what it stands for, of the next generation of the internet, then you're still here and you're building and you're really providing value. And then that's when the space needs you the most. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that's it's times like these where it's like a test of your character, because we went through 2018, it was horrible. 2019, then 2020 was great, and then the pandemic. Besides that, 2021, we had the bull run, and then now we're back down to a bear cycle. And so I think now is a good time to really just provide value to the community. Again, that buzzword that you spoke about, but to people who are willing to hear it, because those that are willing to
Yeah.
hear it are the ones that will benefit the most at this time. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. It's like uh, 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 that's why I started my own journey of looking at myself because I'm like, oh, how I react to these things dictates will then dictate my action. Like the emotion that comes up based on what's happening in any given market, based on what's happening in the current events narrative, how I react to it is what the outcome will be. So I have to, if I'm aware of the reaction, then I can choose not to do it, or maybe I can even alchemize it. I can take the emotion, go, I'm going to take this emotion and turn it into something gold, and then uh,
Nah.
I've done that. I don't know if you can relate to this, but like I did a lot of stage work, a lot of stage acting, and it was mostly in church, so doing like church plays and all that. And so often before going on stage, I'd be arguing with family because they would want me to go out and take pictures and say hi to family and say hi to friends and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, I can't go on. I got to be on stage in 30 seconds. And like this tension. And then right before going on, and then going on stage, this is the dream. And then going right into singing or something, whatever it is.
It was like your launch
Uh,
pad, kind of.
yeah. But yeah, that's like I practice a lot of that. Just being aware of like the emotion that's there present, and then alchemizing it, and then taking the same energy and putting it into something positive. So next question here: what would you say? Well, oh, sorry, I don't know if you wanted to say something there
Well, I said that's
before.
hard to do. I think that's very hard to do. You know,
Very
not
hard to
everyone.
do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's just my comment. So
No, yeah, no, I agree, 100%. Very hard to do. They call it the work for a reason. It's,
Mm.
it's the
It's
hardest
hard.
work to do.
Yeah.
It's the work. So what would you say is the secret sauce for overnight crypto success? Like what pieces of the puzzle are crucial today to catch the traction that crypto requires for crypto to consolidate into, or at least like the smart money?
The secret sauce is that there's no overnight success, unfortunately. I wish there was a secret sauce, man, but there's not. There's just not, because you have to research, you have to understand trends, you have to understand where the world is going, you have to understand adoption, you have to understand all these like basic principles, um Otherwise, it's really hard to find out what it is. And so I think the safe choice is just to read the Bitcoin white paper,
Mm.
and to slowly try to dollar cost average. Um, you could do Ethereum as well as a computer, but I think you need to find a use case. So what I found in the space is that a lot of projects are solutions to problems that don't exist. It's like, let's do a Dropbox. Why not make a Web3? Let's make a Web3 Dropbox. Oh, taxi service. Let's make a Web3 Uber. It's like, oh, hotels, Airbnb on the blockchain. Get this. It's like
Oh, that's
there's no
so
problem.
funny.
Airbnb,
Yeah.
Airbnb works. Uber works. Like we don't need blockchain, guys. Can we just calm down a little bit? Like a lot of these, so most projects don't need a token, right? They don't need some sort of token, right? And we don't even need blockchain. It
Hmm.
works fine without blockchain. And then, but if you're doing like trademarks, right? You're talking about trademarks, you're talking about like health data, you're talking about like birth certificates, deeds of the houses, like ownership, then maybe blockchain would make sense, right? Like you trademarked, this thing and it's like written on the blockchain, it's in the history of, you putting the trademark out and it proves that you were the first one because it's based on time, right? And so we can research all the way back to, whatever that date was that you put the trademark, then that's great. I think that's a great use case. If somebody could figure how to do that, then that would be a very good idea. So if you could build
I
that,
mean, you just
yeah,
said something really, really important there. I think you hit the nail on the head, which is uh, like blockchain is to facilitate third-party trust systems. So it's like instead of having centralized governments to officiate or to registrar, we can use blockchain because it's a
yeah,
public ledger. It's just like having a public system that is trustless, that is the government, or can we trust it? We can't, right? Because it's centralized.
yeah,
You have this entity, this code, this protocol that is a third party trustless system. It's the same thing. It's a registrar. So you hit
yeah.
it, man. That's it.
Yeah. And I think if someone can build that registrar and slowly onboard governments to use it for trademarks, wow, then we might have world peace. I don't know. I feel like I'm dreaming a little bit too big for that. I don't think nobody's gonna get along. So it's gonna be
Yeah, I've actually for a while I've actually argued that the only true way for decentralization, or at least the initially to start true decentralization, can only start at the local and private levels, literally, because
yeah,
this global public thing that's happening right now, I've seen way too many times, over and over and over. Project gets really good, it actually works, it gets successful, and then something comes in and goes, just destroys it. Whether that's
right.
good or not, like a survival of the fittest, whatever, all that stuff. Sure, yeah, but because we're doing it at global levels. If we were to
Mhm.
find our local community and start to create our own little ecosystems that's not dependent on mainstream narratives or mainstream, even like global conflicts, wars, like we need to be able to create value that is protected from that. Is that even possible? That's my question. You
That's a
know what I'm
good
saying?
question. Yeah.
Yeah,
Possible.
then you have to ask the question, like, where does worth actually come from? Where does value actually come from? What gives crypto value, really? What gives gold value? A lot of people would argue with me and go like, oh, well, gold is used for technology and all this other stuff. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. So you buy gold, right? A piece of gold, and you have it in your house and you hold it there, and you're like, cool. Now I'm gonna wait until the price goes up. What? So you're
That's
dependent.
technology.
Yeah, well, you're dependent on this other person, on this other system to tell you that dictates what the value of that gold is. So unless you yourself are melting the gold and putting it into technology and then creating technology yourself to resell, then you're dependent. You're putting your dependency on something else. That's why I'm like, man, we really got to look at where does value really come from. I believe it comes from here. It comes from us, and we need to take it back, take it back and put it inside
Nice.
our bodies.
Yeah, that's a great point of view. And for me, I feel like I have my philosophy is not that, like, let's say Bitcoin is digital gold. For me, it's not that it will make you rich. It's to keep you from staying poor. It's the other way around. It's because of inflation. because of the fact that the governments can print money, they have a money printer, right? That you can print unlimited amounts of money. If there's no ceiling for the number of dollars they can print, that means Bitcoin doesn't have a bottom, if that makes sense, right? So it's a way to hedge against inflation because I've seen it because my parents, immigrants working, right, for 30, 40 years and like inflation's 10%. Oh, so everything you've saved in your entire life, right, is worth 10% less, right? So it's like you have to hedge against it because if the governments around the world are just printing money, then you need something to stop that, right? Some sort of value that you can hold that you can really hedge against it. So it's not to make you rich. It's just to stop you from, becoming poor. So it's
Do you
like
know? Do you know
it's the
that? No, 100%. Did you know that I did an interview? It's actually on my YouTube if you want to watch it. But I did an interview with this guy named Robert Edward Grant. He has like 500,000 followers on Instagram. He's a mathematician that is specific. He specifically discusses universal fractal geometry and cryptography.
Ooh.
First of all, he created a company. He created his own crypto project that is quantum resistant. And he can you can listen to the podcast episode and listen to like what that actually means and how that layers. But I found this chart back in the day that was the correlation between the inflation rate of fiat to the deflation rate of Bitcoin. And they did a chart. It's called like I forgot exactly. Well, actually, let me bring it up here. I can bring it up. It's actually right here. I think you'll find this interesting. So it's, yeah, probably. It's called a Bitcoin stock to FOMO hyperbolic model.
Is it the one that goes, okay. Oh, okay. This is not what I was thinking, but
so this model, like I said, shows the correlation between the inflation rate of the dollar to the deflation rate of Bitcoin. So that's the math on top right there. It's based on they use the 3,584th day. Okay, since Bitcoin started, since the inception of Bitcoin. And so right there, and then they do the math. So here's what it says. Due to the forever rising value of Bitcoin and the forever declining value of fiat, there will be a day after which no one will exchange even a single Satoshi for any amount of fiat. The stock to FOMO model predicts that day to be May 21st, 2029.
dang. It's like those memes. It's like, one day I could sell this for $1 million. It's like, no,
Oh no, not a
you
million,
won't have to.
a billion. Well, essentially, you won't be able to sell it because there's nothing to sell it to unless you go buy property or whatever else, another asset. But I had my mathematician, and you can check this. I had him take a look at this, and then he responded. Not only is this true for dollar, it's right now true for every fiat around the world globally.
Mm. Yeah, we're seeing it already. Zimbabwe has $100 trillion bill, dude. Like, Greece had a bank run, China had a bank run. Like it's Venezuela dollars or just paper, so it's already happening. It's not good.
That stuff is real, man. That's why it's like the dollar cost average idea and the fact, how you explained that this is essentially the greatest, hardest hedge against inflation. It's literally the greatest one. Why? Because it's not part of their centralized systems. And people come to me and like, well, I'm like, what do you own? They're like, I have a property. I have 2 properties. I have 2 cars. I have gold. I have money in the bank. And then I'm like, oh, so you don't own anything. All those things you just listed are in their system. If you don't pay your property tax, what happens?
Yeah, you lose a house.
You lose a house.
If you don't pay the mortgage, you lose the house.
If you don't pay your car registration, what happens? You get it. Cop stops you and takes your car, impounds your car. You got all these things that are in the system that are there to siphon the energy, to siphon the work that we did to obtain it. So we have to start storing our value, the true weight of our assets, in things that we own that they can't control in your own private bank.
Yes, exactly. Just own your own funds. Just control your own funds.
That's
think
it.
Yeah.
I
I feel like
all
for
right.
most people, the heavyweight. Most people don't want. They're just like, just hold it for me. Just don't
Dude.
leave it to me. I don't want to take responsibility. Right?
Right there, you just another nail you just hit, which I believe the greatest theme for these last couple of years has been taking back our power, taking back our power of like our finances, our health, our awareness, like being, instead of being in group think, being more critical about, what we're thinking. And so, yeah, that's a part of it. It's like, take back ownership, and people don't. Like, I believe this is you know what this really is, in my opinion? It's a war on dependency. It's a true war on dependency. And it's like, let's look at all the layers you're dependent on centralized systems. Look at every single layer and see how dependent you are. And then we'll talk again.
Just becoming aware of that, you're just like, oh, dang.
That's it.
Oh, I use my phone every 30 seconds. Oh, I use, transport. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Everything, education system, your news, the financial system, the medical system, even religion. I mean, all of it. There's a dependency. If you require, this is what I believe. If you require that thing outside of yourself to feel validated, to feel loved, to feel connected, to feel something, then you are imbalanced. You're needing something outside of yourself to feel. In my opinion, if we shift the perspective and take the worth, it's like self-worth. Like, where is my self-worth? And then they're looking outside of their bodies.
Yeah. You're just
it's like take your self-worth, and put it back inside your body and go like, I don't need anything to feel worthy. It takes work, right? It's the work.
Yeah,
it takes work.
Yeah. And most people look outward. It's like nobody really stops to look inward. They don't take the time.
Relationship to money. That's why I teach that. I truly believe that if you wanna shift your feeling of being controlled, shift your relationship to money. That's how they control you.
Nice. Yeah.
That's how these systems control
100%.
you.
100%. Yeah.
So, question: what does the two words toxic capitalism mean to you? I love your face when you ask these questions.
Yeah. I would define toxic capitalism as taking a ride to the hospital in an ambulance and it bankrupts you. Going to a hospital because you have cancer and telling the doctor you would rather die because you don't want to burden your children is toxic capitalism. Having diabetes and going to the hospital not being able to pay for any medicine because it's only for profit is extremely toxic capitalism. I think I feel like it's because at the end of the day, if you really look at capitalism, it's profits over everything, right? And everyone needs to go to the hospital. Everyone's gonna die, right? So that's unlimited gold mine, right? And so they're just marking up the prices and I don't know, man. I feel like if we keep going down this route, like eventually it's like, oh, you can't breathe? Here's a bag of oxygen. That'll be $2. Or like water, right? Commodities like water, like all these commodities that like oil, gold, like wheat, food. Eventually, if we keep going down this path, then we're not gonna have anything left, right? And so people are gonna be fighting for water. People are gonna be fighting for air. They're gonna be fighting for it's extremely toxic. And I think that there's actually enough wealth to go around. I think just because I've also kind of been homeless and also struggled, it's I think food stamps are cool. That's all I'll say. I think food stamps
I've
are
used
cool.
it. I've used it.
Yeah.
I've used it.
Yeah. So I mean,
When I was a student, I was like, I'm using food stamps.
yeah,
That's okay.
yeah. And then debt. I think the system they don't teach us about debt in the education system. It's like debt is good debt. Just keep borrowing money, and then everyone is in debt, and everyone has to pay it off. It's like student loans or whatever loan you've taken out. Everyone's gonna spend all their time paying it back, and then you're trapped again, right? You're back into that system, and it's like, oh, I have 6 figures to pay off, or I have to do this because I went to law school or I went to medical school and now I have to pay back, it's going to take me years to pay back because now the interest rate is even higher. So now it's like, it's going to take me even more years. And it's like, I'm 45 and I'm just paid off my debt, or maybe I never pay it off. I think that's toxic capitalism. It's the banks, they make money, whether you make money or lose money. When you lose money, you lend money, borrow money, they make money. They make money no matter what, right? Long answer. Again, went from the elevator up to the top, back to the bottom. But that's my answer.
No, that's great. So what I'm hearing is like, you know, I quote this often that an intelligent man with no integrity is a dangerous man or person, you know, whatever you want to call it, man or woman. Yeah, if you have no integrity, right, and that's it goes back to that example you gave on the medical system. It's like, yeah, if that system, the way that they structured it, there's no integrity. There's no like, oh, we're dealing with people's health here, and here's a system that is driven by profit. That doesn't feel integral. You know, it doesn't feel like it's sitting in this integrity alignment. So that's the first part that I heard there, and then the other thing is, yeah, they don't teach us shit about debt and about these systems and about, you know, budgeting and the regular stuff. You go to school and you learn all of these things that, you know, in a container that facilitates regurgitation, like it rewards intellect. There's no embodiment. There's no like practice, really, unless you're doing something like a doctor where you go to school for 4 years and then you go to residency. They do the residency because you got to put your body in the middle of it. But no, they graduate all these people, give them degrees when they didn't, you know, they didn't embody anything. They're just regurgitating.
Yeah. So they're rewarding those that kind of throw it back up. And I have one more thing. It's like I have family in like Arkansas and Kansas, right? And some of my cousins, their best friends, like let's say the dad passes away from cancer and the mom is like now taking on that debt. And then they come and they take away her home and she's like 75 years old. Now she's homeless at 75. You know, this happens all the time, and it's.
That's actually I've done the math. That's actually how they obtain, you know, gentrification. You ever heard of gentrification?
Yeah, gentrification, of course. Yeah.
So you know, people are like, gentrification. They're just trying to change. They're doing this. They're doing this. They're doing this. It's like nobody's doing anything to you. What's happening is that there's two types of people when things get tough. There's the person that, you know, attempts to solve it and attempts to keep up with the payment but can't, and then the bank, because of not being able to keep up with the payment, they take the house away. That's the first thing. Second thing is, and it doesn't have to do with gentrification, it has to do with the individual's ability and capacity and limitations. The other thing is what you just described. Is like the grandma and the grandpa that, you know, the spouse dies and they don't have any kids left and they didn't do a will. What happens is if you have nothing set up, the state takes the house. So it's gentrification is not an invasion. It's a facilitation for you know, to take your house. That's really what it is. And we're just giving it away willy-nilly because of usually those two situations. So yeah, man, it's something we have to be aware of. You know, to compound on your thoughts of toxic capitalism, what I describe it as this, because like I've said recently that I believe majority of projects are unconscious scams, meaning they're developed by people that haven't worked on their own relationship to money. They haven't worked on their relationship to the current centralized systems, and they're taking traditional banking concepts and slapping it on the blockchain. And then you go into a project, and the project is like still flowing the money to the top, to the few. And it's still divisive. It's still this, you know, trading, like you mentioned tokens, I don't believe tokens are necessary for the majority of projects. Because trading stems from 1700 Japan with the rice farmers. And it's all based on The Art of War, the book, The Art of War from like the 1300s. So the concept is divisive naturally, just for itself, just in and of itself. So it's like, why are we still, perpetuating these divisive ways of making money? We can create regenerative ways. We can create, more abundant ways where everybody benefits, where it's not just a few that are aware or the few that have a lot of money.
Right.
So yeah, toxic capitalism, I just think is, say that again?
Just back to the people, right? Like back to full circle what we were talking about. It's like there's the flow of money, which is like the pyramid flow. Like we all know about the pyramid and Illuminati. Yeah, we do.
And then there's toroidalism. I call it toroidalism. There's capitalism and then there's toroidalism. So toroidal, a toroidal field?
Like a tire, like like a typhoon kind of, or like
No,
a
so a toroidal, look this up after. It's called toroidal. It's Toridal. Toroid. Toroidal.
oh, I
DAL.
see. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
got it.
it's like a donut, and then it's a magnet, So if you look at a magnet that has north and the N and the S, it creates an invisible toroidal field. The Earth is a toroidal field. The Earth has the magnetism going into itself on the top and into itself on the bottom. So energy is like circulating back into itself. That's the kind of not capitalism, but toroidalism. That's what I want. I want toroidalism, where the energy is just regenerative and it's flowing back into the ecosystem.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I've never
I
heard
love
that's
that concept.
yeah, that's quite new actually
Yeah,
for me
yeah.
at least. Yeah,
No,
I've
no,
never.
I love it. Is new. It is.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
It's because it's like here's a better way to explain it. So you probably click with this. A lot of people are looking into crypto for APY and they want the passive income. The majority of projects are passive. The passive income is coming from either someone else that doesn't understand it, or it's coming from the protocol, right? And that hasn't been very healthy for the projects, in my opinion. Like it's been like you've seen these DeFi projects that you provide liquidity, like liquidity providing projects, where in a toroidalism type project, the mechanism or the value is coming from, it's like real APY. The value is coming from the sweat of the people using it, or the effort that the people putting into the space. So like when they come in and use the product, the value goes back into the project itself, into the users themselves. So a lot of like DEXs, a lot of decentralized exchanges, that's where a lot of the value is coming from. It's coming from the user, and then the user stakes, and then the fees go right back into the person's wallet. So it's like, okay, how can we create concepts that are going to be regenerative, not reliant on taking from someone or giving to the few? So it's a big concept. I know.
Yeah, if you could solve that, we'd be in a great place. Web3 would be a booming industry. I mean, I feel like that is what you said there is.
Well, then go back to what I said earlier. Why are we doing it at global public levels? Imagine doing it at a local private level, meaning your geographical community, the local community, your family, your friends, all the people that are. I did the math. You need about 500 people to aggregate or to concentrate about $15 million. 500 people, $15 million. That's all you need. What can you do with $15 million if you take accumulated energy of 500 people and you focus that $15 million into the crypto space, or into creating something that is going to feed the 500 people, or that it's going to bring back value or energy back to the 500 people? And now imagine, yeah, it's not much. Now imagine, here's the other thing. Imagine 1 million of these little 500 people DAOs existing, and the government's like, we're gonna shut you down. It's like, it's like you can't. Yeah. That's impossible at that point. What's happening now is easy. We want to be the one chain for everyone in the world. Is like, oh, just target that one, guys. That's the one we need to target. Go get them. Sick them. Yeah. Now, if you have, and especially if it's private, if it's a private DAO or a private chain that is, we have the right to assembly in the U.S. A lot of countries have the right to assembly. You can create structures, DAO structures that's owned by the individual, that's based on an assembly of people. So there's no registration, there's no officiating, there's nothing you need to do and centralize anything lawfully. This is like a lawful legal loophole, and then that's it. That's it. Yeah. And then that's it. And then you facilitate it through the blockchain. And then where does value come from? Well, value is not dependent on those systems. Value is going to come from the individual at that point. The people putting the effort into it. Yeah, everybody contributes, and then it feeds back into themselves.
Dude, that's awesome.
I'm working on a few. I'm doing it myself. I'm actually working with a bunch of big organizations that have an audience already that are in this. I'll tell you, have you heard of Sacred Sons by any
No,
chance?
what's that?
It's
Try to
this
look it up.
men's group. It's this men's group. Just go to sacredsons.com. They have about 15,000 people in their email list that have gone through their offerings, which is like fairly expensive. But they have, on Instagram, I think 150,000 people that follow them on Instagram. They have a nice podcast that a lot of people listen to. But we're creating, I'm calling it Sacred Trust, but it would be essentially like a sort of DAO structure that is in the private, and all the benefits are in the private. But everything I described to you, yeah, that's what we're working on.
Dang. Wow.
I'll show you some of that, because I'm sure you'd be curious of, like, especially what I just described.
Yeah. I'm looking it up right now. I'm just like doing some research.
It's
Okay, cool.
it's men's work. It's like I called, I said the work. That was part of my healing journey. It's just for men, to like get reconnected to self as well as other men. It's like the importance of having relationships and having friendships and having that kind of connection, like not being the lone wolf anymore. I got to do this on myself. Like, no, there's people out there that are willing to help each other out.
I think that's great. I think brotherhood is so important. I feel like in modern media, it's like guys can't share their feelings, right? You're not supposed to. You gotta, especially also in Asian culture, it's like in general, you just never say how you feel, and it's like you keep it all in, and that's why people are jumping off roofs, right? They can't face themselves. It's super toxic. It's just like it's embedded. I feel like. Yeah.
What you just mentioned there is one of the biggest reasons why I started to approach crypto from a more holistic standpoint, where if you don't have your health, you don't have wealth. Because every time there was a bear cycle and people lost all their money, or an event that happened like that, people kill themselves, man. There's suicide rates are through the roof. It's insane. And then you got Canada with their fucking MAID program facilitating that shit. I'm sorry to say that. I just started researching that. Yeah, they have something called a MAID program, MAID. It's a medical assisted instant death. Yeah, medical assisted instant death or something like that.
So if you want to die, they go and help you.
Huh?
So if you want to die, they go and help you? Is that kind of thing?
If you're in Canada and you go to Google and you say, I have mental health problems, or I'm dealing with suicide thoughts or something like that, you know what pops up? The fucking MAID program. Oh, here's somebody that can talk to you about how we can help you make that happen for you. It's bananas, dude. It's really bananas. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I created this path, is because I'm like, no, man, we got to start looking at this whole thing very differently. We're getting sucked into the same glamorizations as before, the centralized shit, the mainstream stuff, and falling it because of the celebrities and the people we trust. So,
damn. Society, huh?
That's society. Yeah, it's a tough one. That's a big conversation, and that's why I love having these interviews, because with people in the space, because I want to know what the perspectives are on that, and like what is going on to see how I can adjust my own self, and and what I'm teaching, how I'm doing it, because I don't want the next generation of people coming into the space with the same stuff, with treating it as this like funny money or a quick buck or all this stuff that's still very, very toxic and divisive.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right, a few more questions here, and then we'll go to reaction videos, and that's always fun and exciting.
Nice.
All right, so so how was it traveling around the world to different crypto conferences? I know that I looked through your YouTube channel and saw that you did a lot of that. You travel a lot. So, what did you notice based on the different people that were attending the conferences, like based on the country you were visiting? Is there a different type of person per country? Like, what is it that makes them different too?
Actually, no, it's the same people. It's the same people going to the different countries.
Get me out of the system.
becomes its own thing. But it was very because when I first entered the space, I was just holding a camera. It was media, right? So all I did was talk to people, and I wanted to know. I wanted to talk to like 100 CEOs. That was my big goal. I'm gonna talk to 100 CEOs this year. I did not make that goal, not even close. I talked to like 38, right? 38 CEOs of
that's
companies.
that's so many CEOs though. Good for
Still a
you.
lot.
That's
It's still a
amazing.
lot.
That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah, so the key takeaway is they have extremely good time management and they value time as their most precious currency because that's the one thing you don't get back, right? And so they value time more than anything else. And I noticed that and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, that's very interesting because when you're young, you're just like, I don't care, I got nothing to do, right? I'll stand in line for this. I'll wait 6 hours for like, some free pizza or
For an
whatever, like because
iPhone. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because time is like on your side, right? But then for these CEOs, they run maybe two companies, right? And they maybe have a family. Maybe they love, their family. They want to spend more time with their kids, whatever it is. So they some of the most successful people I know, they wake up like, dude, you wake up at 7 a.m., they wake up like at 4 a.m. I'm just like, how? Like, I can't do it. I'm like horrible in the morning. I wish I had more discipline as a person.
Mm.
Even knowing all of this, I still I wake up like 8, 9, right? 10, 11 on weekends. It's just like like for me, I like to sleep. But I feel like for the CEOs and stuff, they really have strong time management and they say no more than yes, actually.
Mm.
You know,
Oh, the power of no.
yeah, yeah.
There's power in that.
It's just like no first. Like no matter what, it's like no. And then if it makes sense, and then it's like because they have to make all these decisions, and so it's like
Yeah.
if it's not for the greater good of the company, then you should go against it. Um, if you're a good CEO, if you're just new or you're green or you don't know what you're doing, then it's easy to get sucked into the other way, which ultimately will lead the company to not succeed. So
Very true.
that's
Very
yeah.
true. Yeah, that's a great perspective. And it's funny because like I didn't I was expecting that answer, but I love that you gave this answer because it's interesting to know, the CEOs of this new technology, of this new space. What do they really value? And that's beautiful. I want to say that's like the greatest response, because I mean, I feel like if it wasn't the crypto space, it would be a different answer. You probably get
Mm,
something different. Where here we're like, because think about it, like what is crypto facilitating for us? It's letting us, like if you put your money into a protocol, it's working for you 24/7. And
mhm,
if you look at how much time you have to put out to make a certain amount of money, and then how much time it can put out to make a certain amount of money, you'll see that it can do 3 work weeks in 1 week. So like what one
mm,
human can do in 1 week, it can do in three. Or I'm sorry, the opposite. It can do
3 weeks.
three in
Yeah.
one. Yeah, 3 to 1. And so it's all about taking back our time. So that's a really cool answer that you got. That's what they want. And what does that
Yeah.
really mean? And here's what I believe. What that really means is that's also relationship to money. It's they're looking for abundance of time. They want
Mm.
to be able to do whatever they want.
Ooh,
And so
interesting.
yeah. So that's
I
a
don't
that's a very cool answer.
Interesting. That's a good spin too. It's like so they're looking for an abundance of time by okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good little spin. Nice, nice, nice. I'm
Um,
learning.
I'm learning. We're learning. We're all learning here.
Let's go.
All right. So last question here before we go into the reaction videos. So you, with everything you've researched, experienced, everything you've seen so far in this reality, you then are in front of millions of people, and you're going to leave them with a few minutes of words. What do you say to those millions of people?
Everything is petty. The only thing that you need is love. At the end of the day, I think spend time with your family. Spend your time, your precious currency, where it matters, where you feel like it matters. Because one day before you leave this earth, everyone you love that came before you will most likely leave this earth before you. And say what you have to say to them now before it's too late, before you don't have a chance to say anything.
I love that. You know that song. Say what you mean to say. Say what you mean to say. You gotta just say it. I love that.
Yeah, just be
That was
honest,
good.
right? Like,
Yeah. Thank you. That was really great. Brother, thank you, Nathan, so much for this interview and being able to just be vulnerable and share your experience. I appreciate you. I definitely want to just, continue talking about all the stuff that we can relate on. But before we finish this, I want to get your reaction to some videos that I found that I think would be really interesting to watch real quick here. So let's look at this first one here.
Salvador's history of currency.
Yes.
And then the Colón until it was replaced by the
So that is Miss El Salvador.
okay, okay. Nice.
dressed in cash like El Salvador.
Miss Salvador. So what do you think about?
I heard my friend is going there to meet the president of El Salvador, and they said that everything there is Bitcoin / USD. Like you can pay for it in Bitcoin, or yeah, it's
100% like that.
Yeah, every store.
That's
So yeah, Bitcoin on your phone, you just pay for it. Like you just yeah.
that is so cool. That is so interesting, man.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, like yeah. He said definitely go
You-
there if you have a chance.
That actually makes sense now. Why she came out dressed like that, like the 1-to-1, or that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, Bitcoin, yeah, because they did Bitcoin. But what you just described, if that's like that now, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
It's legal tender, right? They consider it their currency. So I was like, what?
Yeah. All right, here's the next one.
Now you see this? This will make tow truck drivers and parking enforcement officials extinct. Y'all better start paying attention to where tech is going. You need to start opening businesses or having a career. I'm paying attention to everything a conundrum over there saying. Quincy, I'm telling you, you got it right. Now you see this?
Isn't that crazy?
What?
That's gonna happen in Santa Monica for sure. Little guy's gonna drive up in his little car. He's gonna push a button. It's gonna drop from the bottom of his car and just like pick up your car, and then it just follows him.
Dang. What? Dude, tech, man. Tech. It's
Technology coming at you, man.
yeah. What?
What do you think about this? Is that it? It's just the reactions.
I don't feel very I think it's not good, I think. Well, it's good in a sense that technology is helping us, but it's bad in a sense that a lot of people are going to be out of jobs. And then but hopefully there will be a new class of jobs where you maintain and create the robots, that's like perfect world. But otherwise, man, we just gonna get replaced.
Pretty much. What do you think about Chat GPT taking creativity away from us now?
Dude, I could talk to you about this for hours, and it's like, is AI art real art? Is AI art real art, or is the person behind who's entering the prompts the artist now? Right?
Did you hear about this? That somebody tried to trade or copyright something written by AI. So like they're
really?
and they accepted the application. They're now in discussion to see if they allow it or not. But yeah, give your perspective on all of this. What do you think?
I feel like AI is already here, and they're the most messed up part is like the AI that they're using. It's harvested from us, dude. It's like us as a society, as an internet collective. They just took all of our data, and they created this ultimate super AI, which is like, we allowed this to happen. We gave up our data. We are the product. We are so attached to this thing that we gave them everything, and now they can pull whatever they want.
Regurgitate it back to us, and then we're like, oh, that's what it is.
Man, it's I don't know, man. I'm still kind of flabbergasted. I'm surprised they built it so well because it works very well. But at the same time, I'm a little fearful for like the future. I don't know. Like I don't know. Not in the near future. I'm talking about like after we're gone, like 100 years from now. You know,
Dude,
like
I'll quote DW again. He actually said this in the class. It was about AI. Oh my gosh, I just remembered this. This was 2017, 2018. He said this. He said, I'm not worried about it. Creativity and acting and all this stuff. That's one thing that like AI or technology will never be able to do. And now it's writing scripts and writing writing screenplays. And I'm like, I don't know, DW. I don't know, bro.
I love you, man, but it's happening. Do you know there's influencers that are not real? Did you hear about that?
Oh yeah.
They're
Oh yeah.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
make millions of dollars for these companies, and they're completely fake. Yeah.
yeah.
AI
And
driven.
so I had this one guy tell me, he went up to me, he was like, "Hey, we're looking for a brand ambassador. Can we make it a human AI?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Yeah, because the human AI can't leave." I was like, right? Dude,
That's a
that
good
was
point.
yeah, but like at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, like okay. Yeah, they
Yeah,
won't
yeah.
ever leave. But like at the same
Yeah,
time, it's like, yeah, it is
we
what
can
it
have a
is,
whole
man.
podcast episode just on this for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting direction we're moving towards. I'll say this. This is what I believe. AI will never be creative organically, meaning
Mm,
it will always need input of information to regurgitate, and then it can be creative with the information. It can
right.
figure out a million different ways to put it together, and it makes sense. A common or like an intellectual sense, but it will never create from nothing. It can't create from scratch. And so then my next question would be, who's feeding it? Is it really organically us through this data harvesting spiel? Or is there somebody there in between the stream of flow of information filtering what gets allowed to be put into the AI, right? Because what if conspiracy theories, for example, what if you were to ask the question about conspiracy theories? How will it respond?
Oh,
Because I've been dealing with censorship like nobody's business because of the words I'm
right,
using. So
right.
how does it work on the other side? Do people actually get that information because it's being filtered out right here? You see what I'm saying? Censorship, in my
Damn.
opinion, well, I'm actually connecting the dots right now. I think censorship really is a way to filter the information being fed into AI. I'm literally connecting that dot right now.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
dude, yo, that's messed up though. And then that's another form of capitalism, right? Hey, we'll help you gatekeep.
Yeah.
We have a system of filters here that will gatekeep for you, so you give us a piece.
And this next generation is not really, they're being super dependent on these systems. So imagine now people being dependent on Chat GPT and this type of AI, where they're not researching, they're not really thinking about critically thinking of like, oh no, I need to go to the next level, I need to research more, or I need to look at more perspectives. They just go to Chat GPT and they get, no, this is all the perspective, this is it, this is what it is.
This is the answer to life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
this is
live
life.
it.
This is life. That's how they sound sometimes to me. And I'm like, you're just making noise right now. Um,
Yeah. Like Charlie Brown at the at the thing at the
well,
counter. It's like,
yeah.
uh,
Uh, yeah, man. Okay, let's go to the next video here, and then we can call it. This is just getting funnier.
this has been fun, man.
Um,
This has been awesome. So
all right, you actually posted this, and I thought it was a really good. Oops, not that. Yeah, you actually posted this, and I was like, oh, that's a really good post, and I just want to hear why you posted. Here we go.
We, those of us in this ecosystem, this industry, have created essentially a new financial foundation for the whole world. This is a huge responsibility. And the entire purpose of this financial foundation is that all of humanity can use an open, immutable financial layer. We are separating money from politics. We are separating money from the state. And in the same way that the church was separated from the state and everyone now hails that as one of the greatest things that humanity ever did, we now too, it comes to us to do the same for money. Money is as or more important to people than religion is. We interact with it every day in all sorts of manners. And just as mathematics or language are immutable and open to the entire human race, so too should the exchange and management of money. That is the principle that makes this entire ecosystem important. That is the principle that justifies everything that we do. And if we lose that, it will be something that we regret for the rest of our lives because we had that opportunity.
Hallelujah.
Let's go.
It's like, it's a religion. Oh, yeah. Maxim Bitcoin. No. So what are your thoughts on that?
I actually met Eric in Denver, Colorado, back in 2019, before the pandemic, 2019 or 2018. And he's the same on camera as he is off camera, which is something that I look for, right? Because for us, it's like, as screen people, it's like we have, sometimes, you have to put on a character, or sometimes you gotta do this, but he hasn't changed, which is like, he's obviously one of the most wealthy people on earth, right? He got in.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've never actually tried to look that up, but I'm sure he is.
So he's. Do you use Exodus wallet? Have you ever heard of Exodus?
Yep. Yeah.
I use Exodus.
Yep.
So I know the founder of Exodus. So Shapeshift. So Eric was the first investor of Exodus.
Oh, okay.
He believed in it. Yeah. And so I talk to Daniel Castanoli from Exodus all the time. He's a solid guy too, right? Both of these dudes super solid, and so I can't help but to like try to support them because they have done something for us that I feel like I'm like in a later generation. I'm like 2017 era, right? They're like 2013, 2010, 2011, right? Like they have paved the way for us through enduring pain, scrutiny. Like they were the first ones to be called the scams, right? They were the first ones to be like prosecuted in a way. And so for them to not change, because I know a lot of people that have changed because of the wealth. They're just not who they are anymore, right? You become when you become wealthy, people now you know who they really are, right? They're just different people. But for them, for these two guys, for Eric and for Daniel,
relationship to money.
Yes.
I don't care how much money you have, your real self comes out at that point when it comes to money. But yeah.
Right. And so they haven't changed a bit. They're a bit more kind. They're like, here, like when I went out there, they're like, oh, just get whatever you want. We'll pay for it. They're more kind because they have the wealth, right? They're not like hoarding it. So I feel like it just speaks volumes of it's like what they're doing, not exactly what they're saying. That kind of got me to be like, okay, like they're not flashy. They're not just like, they're not just like 99% of everyone else who's like, because I feel like, again, relationship to money, right? Like rich is, if you're rich, you're kind of like personifying this lifestyle, right? You're spending more, you're doing, but if you're wealthy and you're healthy, right, then you have nothing to prove to anyone. It's in here. And so
this is how oh, sorry, go ahead. I thought you.
No, that's it. That's just spiel. That's the elevator pitch up and down again.
Yeah, no, I've I go back to like self-worth. Where does it lie? Is it inside you? Is it outside of you? Yeah, if the money is the thing that you were pursuing and then all of a sudden you get it, in my opinion, what happens is in that relationship, if you respect money at that point, right? If money is something that you respect, not talking about scarcity or abundance, if a person has a scarcity mentality or abundant mentality, that's different. But respecting, meaning where's that money flowing? Because I believe money, the energy of money, is not supposed to stagnate. Money doesn't want to stagnate. We are creators in this reality. Humans, men and women, are co-creators of this reality. And money is the energy that we use to create. So it doesn't want to stagnate. It doesn't want to stop. If it stops, if it stagnates, That's your relationship to it. that's like pinching the hose of flow or abundance and going like, nah, I'm good. Or like, oh, I got to save this money. And then you pinch, and then there's like a little bit of water that comes out, and then you're like saving all the money, saving. Well, yeah, that's the relationship. You're speaking to the universe. You're going, hey, I'm not ready. Like I can only take care of this much. As soon as we become in flow with it, we become aware of where we're flowing the money. Like for example, instead of flowing money, disrespecting money is flowing the money to things that are black holes. So putting it towards the car, the flashy car, the house, all these things that are bottomless pits. That's externalization of validation or externalization of self-worth. As soon as you internalize it and it's inside of you, what is money? What happens to the energy? It doesn't change, but now your relationship to it changes to where it's not the thing that you're after, or it's not the thing that's going to get the thing that you want outside of your body, right? It becomes the representation, the tool that represents the internalized self-worth. So the person that respects money is then going to flow that money towards things that are going to bring them more energy. Reinvesting their money, investing into themselves, even investing to another person that's going to bring more energy back to him, maybe more time or more, stuff like that. That's the person that respects money. Whether they're on scarcity or abundance side, it doesn't matter at that, with that either. You want to practice more abundance, but the respect is where people miss out on because of like indoctrination, because of all the manipulation and mainstream narratives and stuff, in my opinion.
Dang, that's deep, man. I never even I don't think I've ever even like pondered that. But yeah, it makes sense. It's all about that relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
And it really, again, that's why I teach it this way. That's why I approached it more holistically, because if you tackle this one, all the other relationships with other people, with self, with the systems, with blockchain, with everything, it starts to shift because you start to rewire the awareness of the structure. And then the details are going to be different, but that's fine. It doesn't matter at that point because now you recognize the structure of the reaction to action. Awareness is key.
People need to wake up.
Wake up, man. Open the eyes and don't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan, this has been a long one. This was 90 minutes. Thank you, bro, for sticking it out and going through it with me. You had amazing answers, amazing perspective. And thank you for the reactions too. That was really fun.
Thanks for having me, man. This was actually very different from the stuff I've been doing. It's like a breath of fresh air. So I encourage you to continue to do it. Let's keep in touch and let's do this again soon.
All right. Well, last thing here, where can they find you, Nathan? Plug away, my friend.
You can't.
Peace. I'm out. Yeah.
Bye. Welcome to crypto. That's so dumb.
That was good.
You can find us on YouTube at CryptoNauts, like astronauts, but with the crypto instead of the astro. Yeah, that's about it.
There you go. That's about it. Yeah. So get them on YouTube. youtube.com/CryptoNauts, right? Or is it, you have the handle?
Yeah, CryptoNauts, CryptoNauts. Like
perfect.
Astronauts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Nathan. This was so awesome. I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Appreciate you too, man. Keep it going. Let's do this again, man. I actually send me your channel as well. I wanna watch like all the stuff you talk about, like the geometry. The cryptography. Yeah.
I just posted. I had 2 parts to it because it was like 3-hour long conversation. But it's 2 parts, so it's like a lot of good stuff on there.
Cool, man. Yeah, send it over. I'd love to watch it.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and always remember, gamify your abundance. Love you guys.